Welcome to Vigilante Justice Chronicles. This is the Fireside Briefing, Truth by the Firelight, with your hosts, the Keeper and the Watcher, where we bring forward the saga of Vigilante Justice.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're not pulling from some dry corporate vault. We're stepping into the deep shade of a Southern tale. Something with a wisdom that feels, ancient and slow. Our sources today give us this conceptual framework. It's a parable, really, called The Fox in the Hole, and it lays out this master strategy for dealing with hidden rot. It's got that heavy, thick atmosphere, all fog and low ground, but the subject is just pure surgical confrontation.
It really does. It's such a powerful analogy. One of the sources is explicitly titled The Fox in the Hole, a vigilante justice story. And it gives us a model for addressing, deep systemic corruption or any kind of hidden wrongdoing. Our mission today is to analyze this framework, and we need to focus really intently on the core mechanic it demands, which is the careful, nonviolent application of pressure. That's the primary tool. It's not about jumping straight to punishment or destruction.
That distinction changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely.
It means you're trading that immediate satisfaction of just lashing out for the careful, measured engineering of a necessary outcome. If you're dealing with an entrenched problem in government, an organization, even a family, that patience, that's what makes the difference between solving the problem and just, causing an explosion.
Okay, let's unpack this. So when we look at the initial scene, the setup and the source material, it establishes the challenge in terms of the environment itself. The whole premise is rooted in how you handle wet hides and holes.
Right.
And that language immediately suggests a problem that is deep and hidden, and it just thrives in that damp secrecy. The hole is more than a hiding place. It's a protected infrastructure.
That's a great way to put it. The hole represents that safe bureaucratic layer, that corner of governance or the part of the system that allows misconduct to exist, shielded from the light.
It's built to resist inspection.
Exactly. And the wet hides, those are the things that need drawing out, disinfecting. They're the proof of the long-term toxicity that the structure enables. And of course, the central figure in all this is the fox. And the sources are so vivid here. They keep referring to the fox in the hole, and there's this imagery of the fox staring out from a cloud of smoke. That's from a section titled Smoked Out of the Hole. And the fox isn't some dumb animal. It's intelligent, it's adaptive, it's entrenched. It represents that core element that just refuses to operate in the open.
And that refusal to emerge, that brings us to the core dilemma. When you, the listener, face these hidden, entrenched problems, like, say, a pattern of fraud that's woven deep into a department, or a hidden bias that infects decision-making, the natural, immediate inclination is just brute force.
Yeah. You want to eliminate the problem by destroying its whole environment.
You want to collapse the whole.
Or, as the source puts it, you want to burn the field. And that's a powerful impulse, isn't it? That satisfying solution. If the structure allows the rot, you just get rid of the structure. But if the goal is actually reform, you have to resist that.
You absolutely have to. This whole parable is fundamentally about the value of institutional survival. The field, in this analogy, is the entire system.
The organization, the government.
The whole community structure. And if you burn that field or you collapse the ground, you sacrifice the very infrastructure you need for future health and growth. Even if you get rid of that one fox, the system is the community's resource.
Okay, so we have this high-stakes scenario. The problem is hidden and entrenched, and the typical response destruction is just deemed too costly. We need a way to deal with the fox without sacrificing the field. But I'm curious, though. If the field is so toxic it's harboring a fox, shouldn't there be some structural damage? How can this approach be both non-destructive and effective?
Well, that's where the strategic genius comes in. Its non-destructive nature is the whole key to maintaining legitimacy and to minimizing collateral damage. The strategy demands this surgical, almost patient approach, one that only changes the environment within the hole itself. The source outlines the solution with meticulous precision.
So if you can't collapse the ground and you can't burn the field, what is the precise non-destructive technique the source material mandates?
It's all about the engineering of pressure. The method is detailed very clearly. You build a small fire, you keep it contained. This is not a destructive act. It's a controlled, localized, targeted action.
It's contained.
Yes. It signifies that the pressure source has to be managed. It must have borders.
That required precision it's striking. It's a reminder that effective confrontation isn't about volume or noise. It's about control, about focusing energy. The fire itself isn't the weapon, it's just the generator for the real tool.
Which is the smoke.
Right, the smoke. It's a very subtle power dynamic.
And that containment is absolutely central. If the fire is kept small and contained, the surrounding field remains untouched. The focus stays narrow, right on the entry point of the hole. For the listener who's thinking about organizational strategy, this is the internal audit that only looks at one division, or the investigative report that focuses narrowly on a single contract. The energy is channeled
Directly at the source of the concealment.
And once that small contained fire is going, the pivotal moment arrives.
The source says, and this is a great turn of phrase, you let smoke do the talking. The smoke is the mechanism of pressure. It changes the internal conditions of the hole without physically tearing down the structure. It's the truth being made manifest, but in a non-solid form.
What's truly fascinating is the understanding of the creature's psychology here. The smoke doesn't injure the fox. It doesn't trap it, but it changes the air. The comfort, the secrecy, the dampness that allowed the fox to thrive, it's suddenly gone. The environment becomes immediately unlivable for a creature that demands to be hidden and comfortable.
That makes sense conceptually, but I have to ask, for a listener who's dealing with some bureaucratic fox that's been hiding for years, how do they create that kind of pressure? What exactly is the smoke in the real world?
The smoke is transparency. It's sustained scrutiny. It's the application of rules that were, previously ignored. Think of it as persistent, nonviolent exposure. So the smoke could be a regulatory body finally enforcing a long-dormant rule, or a committed journalist who keeps asking the same question every single day, or a targeted shareholder action demanding clear financial data.
Well,
It's the persistent change in the environment that eliminates the darkness.
so the goal isn't to hit the fox with a stick.
No.
It's to make the air inside the hole so toxic with visibility that the cost of remaining hidden just exceeds the cost of coming out.
Exactly. And when that air changes, the source says that what's been hiding remembers how to leave.
That's the core aha insight.
It is. It implies the hidden entity has agency, but the pressure applied by the smoke, this undeniable force of exposure, makes remaining intolerable. It's a forced behavioral modification through, environmental discomfort.
That phrase, remembers how to leave, is so key because it shifts the locus of action. It means the system isn't destroying the fox. The fox is choosing its next step, but under pressure.
Yes. It's a masterful analysis of those power dynamics. The pressure campaign eliminates the very conditions, the systemic silence, the lax oversight, the secrecy that allowed the wrongdoing to thrive unseen in the first place. The fox doesn't leave because it's physically caught. It leaves because it's choking on the truth, choking on exposure. The source is definitive. Anything that refuses the light will eventually choose the open. The pressure's goal is not harm. It's forcing a reluctant move toward visibility and accountability.
And this strategic patience brings us to the crucial need to define success correctly. This strategy is powerful precisely because of its intentional distinction. The sources are crystal clear on the objective. This isn't about punishment, it's about pressure.
And this separation is, it's non-negotiable for institutional health. If the pressure campaign immediately jumps to the conclusion of punishment, you risk several things. You violate due process, you trigger a defensive collapse, and you lose the moral high ground.
Right, the fox will just claim they're being persecuted.
And we'll try to tear down the whole field with them.
So the goal is exposure, not immediate capture, which means the entity has to survive the process of emergence. And that's a difficult pill to swallow if you feel that entity has caused substantial harm. How does the parable address that need for exposure without immediately destroying the subject?
Well, the parable insists on measures to ensure survival and exposure, not collapse. It specifically states, no fire touches the fox, nor trap snapshot.
So you're not physically destroying it.
Not at all. Nor are you prejudging its capture. You are purely forcing it into the light, where the field, the community, the institution can then deal with it under transparent conditions.
Wait a minute. If the fox just leaves the hole, doesn't it simply relocate the problem? How does this strategy ensure accountability, not just displacement? Wouldn't the listener want to make sure the fox is caught the minute it pops out?
That's a great question, and it speaks to the necessary focus on systemic change. If you rig a trap at the mouth of the hole, the fox will sense it and refuse to emerge. It will fight to the death inside, causing you to have to collapse the hole anyway. And there goes the field. By removing the trap, you incentivize emergence. The moment the fox chooses the open, accountability shifts from the tactical action of the smoke to the institutional mechanisms of the field. The fox is now visible to the police, to regulatory boards, to the public, to the media.
So the strategy is about changing the conditions for the fogs from hidden and safe to visible and exposed, and trusting that visibility itself provides the necessary weight for accountability.
Precisely.
Okay.
It speaks to the philosophical underpinning of the whole parable. Truth has weight. And this weight, applied by the smoke, is what achieves the desired outcome. It's a realization that revealing the truth itself, forcing the wrongdoing into the public domain, is often the most powerful and effective long-term form of accountability, especially since it maintains the integrity of the institution that has to deliver that accountability.
And if we zoom out and look at the policy implications here, especially in situations of institutional corruption, the non-destructive nature of the strategy becomes the key to any kind of enduring reform.
It is the absolute key. The source material emphasizes that the field stays standing because the goal was never destruction. It was exposure. The system, the government agency, the school board, the business, it survives, remains intact. But the element that was thriving in secrecy is now visible. It's now accountable to the light.
It's a method of institutional cleansing that doesn't require tearing the whole building down and starting from scratch. It requires an incredible amount of restraint, though.
Yes, it does.
Which is often the hardest part when people are angry or frustrated by long-term secrecy. It's so much easier to torch the field than it is to build that small, contained fire and then patiently wait for the smoke to do its work. It's nonviolent work.
The field must remain useful. If we think about institutions as essential structures, like healthcare systems or public utilities, we can't afford to just destroy them to get rid of one bad element. The value of this parable lies in maintaining the utility of the institution while purging the hidden toxicity through strategic pressure. It's the difference between self-immolation and a deliberate surgical intervention.
This has been a truly fascinating deep dive into what is, essentially a masterclass in strategic, non-destructive confrontation. The power of contained pressure, the smoke, as a tool for exposure really stands in stark contrast to the pitfalls of using destructive force, like burning the field. The goal is revelation without wreckage.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this parable serves as a vital reminder that when you're dealing with deep systemic issues, the most effective remedy often lies in changing the conditions that permit the secrecy, rather than directly attacking the secret itself. Strategic, contained pressure can force out hidden elements without requiring the structural collapse of the field, the system, or the institution itself.
And that preservation of the institution, that's really the key to the long game. Because the problem isn't necessarily just the fox, it's the environment that made the fox comfortable in the first place.
Absolutely. So we've successfully forced the fox into the open, and the field is still standing and intact. This brings us to a final provocative thought for you to consider. If the objective was purely exposure, and the system, the field, survived the purging, what ongoing, subtle, and contained forms of smoke, what permanent conditions of transparency or accountability must be maintained to ensure the fox, or another one like it, does not simply relocate and find comfort in a new, adjacent, and equally hidden hole?